Good morning. Welcome to morning prayer. I'm Evan Gardner. It's October 5th, 2022. Pastor Woodfin and I are going through a series of 60 essential Bible stories each Wednesday. The story for today is Genesis 12 through 25. It is Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. The key verse for today is from Genesis chapter 17, verse 9. I'm going to open up my Bible, and as I'm opening up my Bible, let you know I started recording this and thought it was streaming out to Facebook and YouTube, and then the app said the stream had stopped, and I don't think it went anywhere. So this is my second go at it. So Genesis 17, verse 9 says this, "And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout the generations. Abraham is told that you will be and still are a part of my promise, is still a part of my plan." What is that plan? Genesis 12, God said to Abram, go. Now, well, what is this go all about? It's where should he go and what is he going to do? So Genesis 12, 1 through 3 is a pretty fundamental passage to explain Abraham and the promise that is given through Abraham. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Abraham is promised a family that's going to be filled with blessings, not only for Abraham, but for all the world. 10 years go by. Sarah, his wife, still has not given birth. So Sarah, well, she's concerned because Abraham and her are becoming on the verge of becoming too old to have children. So Sarah chose to give her servant Hagar to Abraham. In accordance with the custom of the day, the child born to Hagar would be Sarah's, and she could have a child through Hagar. Hagar does conceive. Sarah despises her. Sarah begins to deal harshly with her, and Hagar flees to the desert to escape this cruelty of her mistress. An angel of the Lord meets Hagar in the wilderness, commands her to return back to Abraham and Sarah. And the angel, though, says, "You go back, but you go back with this promise. I will multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude." It's in Genesis 16. The angel predicted Ishmael's name and character. So you've got Hagar with this child Ishmael. But now God also promises to Abraham that you are going to be a great nation, and it's going to come about through your own child with Sarah. This is something that seems impossible. Sarah's past childbearing age. She gives birth to a son named Isaac. That's Genesis 21. Hagar's son, Ishmael, would be about 14 years old at the time of Isaac's birth. And when Isaac is weaned, so maybe 2-3 years, Abraham, well, he sends Hagar and Ishmael away. Hagar and Ishmael, they go into the wilderness, near death. The angel of the Lord calls her and says, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of your boy. Where is he? Up, lift up the boy and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Genesis 21. Ishmael and the mother, they live in the wilderness, and he becomes an expert with the bow, and later he takes an Egyptian wife. That's Genesis 21. He is seen once again when he returns back home to help bury his father Abraham in Genesis 25. Ishmael, the son of a bondservant, he becomes the father of 12 sons who are called princes. He lived to 137 years old. Sarah died at the age of 127 in Hebron, not much after Abraham had offered Isaac up as a sacrifice. The Lord provided a ram in the thicket instead. The Bible doesn't record Hagar's death. She's last mentioned in the Old Testament in Genesis 25. Many observations can be made about Sarah and Hagar. One of the things we can think about is how do we experience, live, and enact God's promises. When it's been 10 years and Abraham and Sarah see that they haven't given birth to a child, and they try to work it out through Hagar. Paul, in Galatians 4, sees this effort as an illustration of trying to achieve the covenant of God through the law. That is, through our own efforts. through our own works, trying to bring about, hasten, quicken God's activity in this world. And Isaac, who was born of Sarah, a woman well past childbirth, a woman to whom it would seem impossible that life could come from, God works his grace-filled promises. Paul would describe the child Isaac and that way of living as someone who trusts in the promises of God. These stories of Hagar and Ishmael and Sarah and Isaac, they become a way for us to think of the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. The Old Covenant is based on the law. It's based on this idea that you can hasten, quicken, enact God's kingdom through your keeping of the law. Isaac, the New Covenant. It's a covenant of grace that comes about through the impossible way that God loves us, even though we don't deserve it. Those who try to earn their salvation by their own works are like the child born of Hagar, a slave, the result of human effort. Yes, things can be accomplished. Ishmael becomes the father of 12 sons, 12 princes, a father of a great nation, but there's always conflict. And child born of Sarah, Isaac, is a child of the new covenant. It's a child born of grace. It's a child born out of impossibility where God yet still is at work. Take some time, read Genesis 12 through 25. Find the story of Abraham and Sarah. Read about Lot, something we just kind of passed over today. Read about how they struggle to see how is God at work. They try to manipulate and it falls apart. There's resentment between Sarah and Hagar. Isaac gets born and Hagar and Ishmael are kicked out. It doesn't work when we try through the law to establish our relationship with God. When trying to do and keep and be perfect and say that's how God is going to see me and treat me, it doesn't work because we can't keep the law perfectly. Aim to have a relationship with God that is defined by grace. Undeserved and yet received, a new creation is born. And then trust and live in that new creation and see how God will be at work in you. So this is 60 Essential Bible Stories. Today, Genesis 12 through 25, Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. Our key verse was Genesis 17, verse 9. Genesis 16 is where Hagar gives birth to Ishmael, and there's resentment and disappointment. Genesis 17, Abraham is reminded by God, you are going to have a relationship with me, Abraham. It's going to be a relationship of grace. May the Lord be with you, comfort and keep you this day and in all of your days. Find in the new covenant, find in grace your relationship with God. God's peace.